Um,
Whoa. Wow.
whoa.
What's
How
in your
we
what's in your
doing?
wheat? What's in your Weetabix?
What's in my Weetabix? Caffeine.
Are you just
Caffeine
happy
flavored.
because you started the show and you're clear on which show it actually is this time?
I'm happy because I'm looking at you, Mark. I'm happy because there's a lot of great new music out right now. I'm happy
Mm.
because there's lots of exciting things for us to talk about right now. I'm also excited because I didn't put all of my money into crypto right now. So,
All of your
uh,
money.
all of those many pounds in the bank
All
account.
£7.25p
33, get it right.
in the bank account.
Um, but we're back for another episode of the No Music Podcast. That is the show we're making and you are listening to right now, you beautiful, beautiful listener stroke viewer, depending on your platform of choice, you. What we're going to talk about today, Mark? We've got lots of things to talk about. What are you going to talk about today?
What we're going to talk about in the Web3 Bitcoin NFT Discoverse. Well, we're going to try our best to carry on that theme of trying to make sure every time we speak about at least one precise, immediate, relatable example. So we're not just one of those pods that's going on about stuff that is going to be really important to you in 2032. It's like, what about now? I need to pay the bills as a musician now. And then we will talk about quite a lot of the bigger picture stuff. In particular, there's a theme evolving of already significant platforms more and more dipping their toe into this world. So there'll be some bigger picture stuff and some immediate stuff, as
Cool.
well as several relief moments that we didn't put all £7.50 of our savings into Terra or Luna. Little Bitcoin joke for you there, boys and girls.
Oh, they're the most exciting jokes, those ones. Cool. Well, that's in the Web3 world. I am shockingly going to talk about Instagram in the social world. And we're also going to talk about Spotify in a massive shock turn horror of events.
That is a shock.
An exciting, and I do think it is exciting, development that Spotify's had, and how I think that once it's up and running properly, if a musician takes advantage of it properly, you can potentially, just increase the engagement to your releases, build more hype around your first week of release, lots of exciting stuff like that. So I think that's going to be one of the first things we're going to talk about. Other than at the end of the show, we'll also talk about the crazy week that Nottingham's got ahead of itself in about 7 days' time.
All good.
Cool. In which case, let's get into it. And I think we're going to start with this Spotify thing I was just hinting at, which is pre-saves, which I think pretty much every musician at the start of their career, regardless of whether or not they've done one yet, they're at least aware of them, whether it's because of bigger artists that have done them, whether it's because of their fellow musicians that have done them. I think it's fair to say that now pre-saves, regardless of which streaming platform you do them on, they are known as being a key part of a marketing strategy for any new release, whether it's a single EP album. I think that's fair to say.
And your favourite subject?
That is sarcasm. Because, you are right, Mark. I up until potentially what I'm about to say, have had very strong opinions on them, because up until right now, if you wanted to do a pre-save specifically on Spotify as the biggest streaming platform, you had to use a third-party service. And what that basically means in English is Spotify didn't have their own way to pre-save. If you wanted your fans to pre-save your upcoming single, album, EP, whatever it is, you had to use another service, and most distributors ended up making their own one to try and capitalize on it. And it basically meant that you had to link people to this link here, they had to put their info into this thing here, and then they had to click a link over here. Just made it really complicated. And I can say for one that
They didn't make it easy, did they, Sam?
They did not. They did not. And I can say for certain that, I had to really, really, really like an artist to pre-save something and go through that rigmarole. And I would call myself a passionate music fan. So we've even got an advice video on our YouTube channel from about 2 years ago where we break down all of these points of why I personally think that if you're a musician at the start of your career, I think one of the definitions we actually use in that video is if you're at the point where you wouldn't be able to sell at the bodega yet, so that translation is 200 capacity in your hometown, then you should not be running a pre-save campaign. I think that was one of the one-liners from 2 years ago. Still can stand by that now. But now, Spotify have announced and started testing. This is not a public feature yet, but it's looking positive that it will be. So we're trying to give you guys a heads up on it. that they are going to have an official pre-save function, which, again, in English, basically means that when you're on Spotify, whether it's on your phone or your desktop or whatever, if you see an artist that you like has an album coming up, you can just click pre-save, one button, boom. And then the day that it comes out, it will go into your Spotify library. You'll get a notification on your phone or your email or however you've chosen to do it. Made it easy. One click, boom. And that will, once it's rolled out properly, change the game for unsigned artists for all of the reasons that I think it was a massive headache before this came out, in that now you only have to drive people to your Spotify when you're promoting your new release, which comes out in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, however long of a build-up you're doing. You're just going to go, yo, go to my Spotify, and if you're interested in this song clip, or you heard it live at that bodega show, or whatever it is, you can go and pre-save it. Press the button. Boom. So
why have they taken so long to offer that?
Honestly, I don't know, because something I did learn whilst reading about this new Spotify specific version is Apple Music already have their own one, as in their own one built into Apple Music. Now, I'm pretty sure it's Apple Music's the second biggest streaming platform in the West, I think, after Spotify. So they have one. And
isn't it Pandora? Because they've got like bazillions in France or something like that. I know it's definitely one of those things we have to be really careful about looking at it from the British perspective, at least.
Yeah.
But I think there's somewhere that a classic British music fan would not guess is really significant in that world. Maybe we can put it up on the screen. Who was right? Mark was right, or Sam was right? And the other one owes the other 5 Terra Luna coin.
Obviously, it is, regardless of if it's second, third, or fourth, it is obviously one of the biggest streaming platforms.
Yeah.
They have it built in.
And there's YouTube as well,
of course. But Apple Music did such a bad job of promoting it. I didn't even know it existed, and I spent hours looking into this kind of stuff generally on a week-to-week basis. I had no clue it even existed. So theirs hasn't gone down that well. Whereas what Spotify are doing, Spotify, and it's part of why they're testing it before they roll it out straight away. I've read the official Spotify press release and stuff. Like, it is basically, they want to make sure it is right and it is as easy as possible for everyone from the massive artists to the smaller unsigned start their career artists to use. The test that they're currently running is actually with Florence and the Machine. So if you want to see how it looks, you can go onto Florence and the Machine's Spotify page and you can see what it kind of looks like. But they're testing that out, testing it with a few other big artists at the minute, and then like any feature, as long as it doesn't go drastically wrong, it'll probably be in a month or two that you will be able to use it as a new musician. And in terms of immediate action right now, I guess it just means if you are starting to plan for a single, an EP, or an album at any point in maybe the next 2 to 4 months, maybe in that kind of time span, then this probably, can't guarantee for a fact, but there's a decent chance this feature will be out by that point. And you were probably already thinking either I'm going to run a pre-save campaign or I'm going to start directing people to Spotify. Now you might be able to kill 2 birds with one stone, make a Spotify campaign. And, that could ultimately, we're not being paid by Spotify here, folks, just to clarify. We're just aware that it is the biggest streaming platform. So, if you're already thinking, what's the end goal for all of my marketing? There is a very strong case, even before this, that Spotify should have been the place, whereas now I think this makes it even bigger, essentially.
And the other side is, if you're one of those people who's been doing pre-save for the last couple of years when it didn't actually make any sense, your strategy has now come good. It does actually make sense to pre-save now.
Yeah, and so, do you know what? It does make so much sense why people have done it before. It's just there hasn't really been the system in place, whereas now there is.
Yeah, it's not been easy for the fans in particular, which is a classic. When you're thinking about a promotional strategy, you've got to think about the person you're trying to reach, whether that's your strategy to get in front of infos on Instagram, DJs on radio stations, or something that's direct to your fans. What's easiest and makes most sense for you as the artist may not be what's easiest or makes most sense for them. And therefore you need to reflect on that dilemma, because what's more important, you getting the job done in less time or actually being effective?
I mean, to some degree, that's just social media in general and marketing in general.
Or life, you could say.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It literally is. How can I make the person that I want to either spend money or engage with the thing that I'm doing?
What's a bit unique about musicians and creatives certainly considered different to, say, entrepreneurs, is that either realization or acceptance that you are effectively in business for yourself, and therefore you have to have things, unsexy things like strategies, which a business person, an entrepreneur would not rebel against as much. I mean, some of them will rebel and go, I don't need a business plan, I'm just going to use my charisma and energy. But with musicians, illustrators, fashion designers, the creative industries, there's often unwillingness to recognize or accept that you need, at least until you're successful enough that you can hire people to do this for you, then you're going to need to spend some percentage of your week doing the unsexy business stuff. Otherwise, you're significantly decreasing your chances of getting to that making a living level doing what you love. Sam, you and I often talk about things that you don't want to do, but they're 1 degree of separation away from what you do want to do. So I've got to do this thing I don't want to do because it helps me do the thing I do want to do. Things that are 2 or 3 degrees of separation away, then there's a case that you should be decluttering them away. But there are just some things no one cares as much as you do. You and I have learned that lesson. I've been reminded of that lesson a few times in some other projects the last couple of weeks. No one cares as much about your stuff as you do.
But you know what? That one-liner as well, as much as that can be the just reminder to maybe put the extra time and attention to the things you care about, it's also, I think, a really empowering line in that when people are getting really stressed out or worried or anxious about putting a piece of content or putting a song out or putting a demo out or whatever, is very few people care as much as you do. So actually, why not just put the thing out there? Like, for the 99 people that might like it, listen to it, or engage with it in some way, if there's one person that went, oh, don't really like this, like, why does it matter? Like, very few people are actually caring about that.
So you mean the overthinking of it side of things, where people don't put it out there? Musicians don't put the song out there or that clip out there because they're worried it's not perfect yet, and that's kind of used, dare we say, as an excuse to then not do anything. And then, like, I'm one of these people who only wants to put something out there if it's perfect. And therefore, I think there's some like 5 billion years old phrase of perfection is the enemy of the good, or something like that.
Well, it's
and there's certainly a cousin of that phrase in the Web3 world, which is keep playing with stuff until you break it. And what that means is keep putting stuff out there, keep putting imperfects out there, see what works. Don't be ashamed of things not working. Actually see that as a good thing, because that means you've pushed some kind of creative or technological edge. What's our one-liner? Making mistakes is good because it shows you're pushing things. Making the same mistake again is dumbass. Dumbass. The word dumbass
you got to learn
almost went kind of Greek there. Dumbass. Hey? Dumbass. Half Greek, half Polish.
I can't tell if it's an insult or a meal.
Dumbass. It just sounds like you doing an accent, basically. Which, if normally you can't tell within about 2,000 miles of where you're trying to do an accent.
What the fact are you?
We get the right continent, we're doing well. You sound like a penguin on Greenland. Is that the end of the pre-save? It's one of my.
I think so. But like I say, I get part of the reason we're not spending too much time on that is because the feature is not there yet. But I do think if anyone is already thinking about their next single campaign and it is a few weeks or a few months away, having this in mind that this hopefully will be a feature you can take advantage of soon, try and make that a part of your campaign. And at the very least, you lose nothing from driving people to Spotify as one of your main platforms. Okay, well, in which case, I think we can move on to the greatest hits world of social media and content and all the cool things, man. And in short, there is no groundbreaking new story this show. I've just got a few things that I thought were I know. The selfish Zucker universe has not blessed us with anything mind-blowing. I don't know. Don't know what to say. Although, I did see...
It's going to get mentioned later. It's going to get mentioned later.
True. Hey? Later on today, as we record this, Bill Gates is doing a Reddit Ask Me Anything. You can go and ask Mr. Bill Gates himself anything on Reddit today.
Reddit is a brave place to say "Ask me anything" full stop. Let alone when you're Bill Gates.
I would not.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon the cheekiest thing he'll get asked? Will it be, can I have a loan? Actually, it's gonna be much ruder than that. It's have you microchipped me? Are you dating now,
Yeah.
Bill?
What's your
Do
Tinder
billionaires
password?
go on Tinder? Like, do they have a special
I,
billionaire version of Tinder? Because, Bezos,
isn't there
Bill
that?
Gates, I mean, quite a few famous, very successful multi-billionaire couples split up. Where do they? Surely they don't just go on Bumble and Tinder.
No, I think.
Oh,
Well,
there is
I know
that. Rhea?
a few of my Raya, I was gonna say, a few of my LA friends use
Mm.
that, and that's where like a lot of quite a lot of celebrities, I think, use that as their main platform because you have
All
to
your
be
LA
approved
friends,
to
all your
even get in. And
billionaire
like
LA friends.
Elon, call me baby.
Elon, yeah. My
Um,
LA friends, Elon and Jeff.
ELA. Anyway,
But yeah.
but yeah, they haven't blessed us with any great content this show. But what I thought I'd do is a few things that I found interesting that might have some impact on musicians at the start of their career. I'm going to try to share them. By the time the show, sorry, is that as we record the show, this is all on the majority of people's phones now. Instagram has done another dramatic update to the main feed, the main way people consume content on the app, which is they have changed it to, shockingly, be more like TikTok. But right prior to this week, Instagram was still very much how Instagram's been the past few years, and then they had Reels living within the app, but it almost worked as a separate app within the app. Whereas now what they've done is the main feed, which is the main thing that opens when you open up Instagram for the first time on your phone. It's all vertical video. It is meant to hit you with a full screen video within seconds, and then you scroll and there's another
Okay.
video, and ads are hidden in there, but they're a seamless part of the experience, so you can't tell, and blah 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 blah. So basically, yes,
Seamless.
shockingly, it's ripped off TikTok. Uh-huh. But I mean, it's to say it's being mass rolled out right now. It's very like much in a testing phase. The head, I forget what his job title is, but the guy that always talks about the guy who works at Instagram that always talks about the updates, guy called Adam Mazzeri. He is
Do you mean the boss?
kind of said we're. I don't know if it is the boss. I always get confused by this. I don't think he is the boss of Instagram. I think he's just quite senior and the best person at talking on camera, because something tells me people that work in the back end of Instagram aren't the most photogenic. I'm just going to throw that out there. So
Interesting. I mean, that would just mean it's nothing.
he's
Lots
handsome.
of companies have a chief PR officer or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
some
what his
might say
official
that
job title is.
Meta could do better than letting Zuckerberg loose as much as they do.
True. Meta could do better.
There's a
Better.
starting rhyme for any rappers out there.
Thank you. Anyway, but my point was, why do I care as a musician? Well, two things. One, if one of the main points we've absolutely hammered home on this show is video content, you just need to get on it. You can't come up with excuses now. Fair enough. Maybe a year or two ago, you could come up with excuses, but it's literally every single platform is about video content now, to the point that, and I say this as someone that's probably primarily known as a photographer to a lot of creatives, like it started as a photo platform. Yes, Instagram doesn't really care about photos anymore. You've got to work out, if you're a photographer listening to this, you've got to work out how to turn
Doesn't
photos
care.
into video. Like,
Not
it's
has
just not.
prioritized
They
less.
changed
Literally doesn't care about photos anymore.
what. Well, they changed their one-liner. Like, I mean, this is like a year ago now, and this is going to be heavily paraphrased. But their one-liner used to be, "We are a photo sharing platform," and they changed it at some point, I think last year, to "We are a." It's a really wanky one-liner. It was something like, "We're a community sharing platform." It was basically "This is where you go to keep up with your friends," is what they tried to
Okay,
change
so
it to. Versus
what's the news
specifically
for musicians with all this?
the need is, well, two things.
News.
One, no doubt now, as the majority of people on their phone have this new Instagram, photos are going to be left in the dust because they're not being prioritized anywhere near as much in the feed. And also when they do show up in this new feed, because they're not pieces of video and they're not vertical full screen, they just look shit. So like, even if you've got a beautiful photo, I experienced this earlier on, beautiful photos look shit in this new feed. So almost even if you've managed to capture a beautiful piece of photography or like an awesome single cover, whatever it might be, it's going to lose a few points basically in this new feed. Sucks, but that is the way it is right now. So again, the point here is, this is less what Instagram has said, and I'm just trying to make clear the point with all these changes that are happening. You've got to get on video content, and the bullet points that we kind of come back to on every one of these previous shows is how, if you're thinking, Sam, I haven't got the time, I haven't got the money to make more and more video content. It's how do you turn things that you've already got or already going to make, how do you turn that into video content?
Yeah.
Almost all of you will have a phone. You can film things talking to the camera. If you're uncomfortable talking to a camera, you can film behind the scenes stuff, and it doesn't have to actually feature your face or your voice in it. There's so many ways, and I'm not going to go into them now because we've talked about a lot of that kind of stuff. How do you make more content on previous shows? But there is a chance in a few months' time that they won't even be taking photo content anymore. That's not based on anything other than the trend of how much they are prioritizing video content right now. But, TikTok is just a video app. You can't upload photos to TikTok. And it wouldn't be crazy for Instagram to start going in that direction.
Wow.
So make video content, kids, is kind of my headline there. And that, as much as I feel like I could talk about that. Sorry, go on.
Well, there's a headline lurking underneath that headline, because we want to help musicians. So make video, kids, is kind of like a school teacher giving them instructions. The thing that's come out from the last NOMP into this one is that is getting indicators from these platforms that it's acceptable to reuse content.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying don't like have a heart attack about the idea you've got to spend a whole week filming videos, or you're going to have to film a fresh video every day for the rest of your life. A good starting point is to go back into video content, audio-visual content, vertical video you already have, music videos, behind the scenes at gigs, some live footage from gigs, and use that for the first couple of months maybe to get you up and running. Then, I don't know, a bit like going to the gym, the first couple of weeks are the tricky ones, then you actually start to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so doing new stuff seems less of a ball ache. So I think the thing that I found valuable, that I think is valuable for musicians starting their career, particularly ones who don't have a natural affinity for social media. You love social media. You like doing it. It doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, it's a ball ache. They don't want to do it. They just want to focus on being great musicians. But they realize they've got to do it. So this is the direction of travel, A. B, here's this beautiful hack of you can reuse the stuff you've already got. And I think it was Instagram, you said on the last NOM, have specifically said on the record they will not penalize you for using material you've used before.
So
you can use material you've used before and material you've not used.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, the thing we shared on the last show was the specific of there'd always been this rumor that, platforms like Instagram could read the data of an image, and therefore the second they knew you'd already posted that image, it wouldn't go out, whereas they confirmed that doesn't happen. If anything, I mean, something that's worth acknowledging is, yes, sometimes when you reuse content, if it is really recently, or if it was the thing that reached the most people, there is the chance if you post it again, people will be like, bruv, I've already seen this, and not engage with it. So it's not a perfect strategy.
That's the people looking at it, not the platform.
Correct. Yeah.
Sorry, people, if we're speaking over each other a bit, the line's a bit fuzzy, so I think we're not necessarily sensing when the other one is talking sometimes. So there's the distinction between, I think this is another theme you've said over several NOMs, is people sometimes jump to the conclusion that stuff's not being seen, they're being shadow banned if stuff doesn't do well, or the platform don't like it. Well, actually, it could simply be it's not good, it's not resonating with the audience. So that's different. So we now have it on the record, at the very least from Instagram, that as long as you didn't post it yesterday, they're not going to penalize you for reusing content. But your audience might be like, dude, you put that up 2 days ago.
Yeah, and something that's worth remembering as well, we're doing all right. Final point, and then I'll wrap this bit up, is again, all of these things, it's one of the points we're really trying to hammer home on every one of these shows, is most of these platforms want you to do well on the platform. They don't want you to, have a shit time and not reach anyone. So if you have the common sense to Google things like Instagram how-tos and TikTok, generally the phrase they do love to use the word creator. That is generally the term people use for having an account on Instagram, having an account on TikTok. Even though you are a musician, all of the guides are more broadly made for creators on Instagram and creators on TikTok.
I don't need to Google it. You spent half the last NOM telling us how brilliant Instagram's own Creator Hub was that they launched. They're literally telling you.
No, but that's what I mean.
You don't need to find some or friendly, insightful person on YouTube. Just go Instagram to tell you about how to use Instagram.
Exactly. And those links are in the last NOM's bio as well.
Or
Both Instagram's Creator Hub and TikTok's equivalent.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Over to you, Web3 boy. Your new nickname. Talk to me.
World's shittest superhero. Web3 boy. He's decentralized. He's not affiliated to any third parties, and he'll crash 99% in value overnight. Well, the biggest story in the crypto world in May 2022 is definitely this Terra Luna thing, but it's not really relevant to musicians. So, apart from the odd snide remarks throughout the show, we're not going to really mention that. As we committed at the start of the show, we really try to always have at least one precise, immediate, relatable example. So I'm going to chat about the latest NFT release from Lyrah. We're going to have a little bit of a stat fest, picking up on some previous conversations in previous NOMs about, which platforms should you focus your energy on, If you're going to, I'm going to focus all the business, show business, music industry hours of my week where I actually promote myself as opposed to the time I spend on my art, writing and crafting great songs, where am I going to focus it? So we've got some insights on that. And then I thought we'd start with some developments in this world on two of the most important platforms. Arguably, definitely in the top 5, depending, if Instagram and Spotify are what I'm talking about. I went for top 5 because YouTube's probably in there, TikTok's definitely in there. Certainly from the UK perspective and American perspective, as we've hinted at constantly, it's different in different parts of the world. So Insta and Spotify have both done some NFT toe dips, and they're significantly different. I've seen some of the chat I've seen about this. It's important to make a distinction. This is quite different to what Twitter did a couple of months ago, where Twitter made it possible in a verified way to PFP to put your NFT as your profile pic. The news from Spotify and Instagram in May 2022, unless I'm being a bell end, which is always a significant possibility, are about enabling creators, the C word. From our perspective, we're most interested in musicians, obviously, and on Spotify, almost exclusively musicians, to sell NFTs. So one of the themes of our chats on NOMPS is, okay, can this help me now versus is this going to be significant in the next 3 or 4 years, the next decade, et cetera, et cetera. So Instagram and Spotify have both started these beta tests, these experiments. It does not mean an unsigned artist from Nottingham or Bristol or Manchester or even Atlanta is going to be able to do this next week. But it does imply they might well be able to do it in the next 12 months. So your mate Adam at Instagram announced that they are going to be starting with select creators experimenting with being able to sell NFTs through your Instagram. See, that's significantly different to what Twitter did. Twitter is we can officially show off your ape or your CryptoPunk. This is going to let you sell NFTs direct through Instagram. And this is also a theme I've noticed quite a lot, just like a lot of other platforms. They're not going to charge any fees initially. So how we talk about this theme. I've said the phrase, we talk about this theme quite a lot on this show. But another one is that platforms will often be more helpful at the start of something. They'll push something out more, or they'll charge less if nothing. Often that won't be the case in 2 or 3 years. So there's nearly always something, where you're talking 2016 or 2022, there's nearly always something that's having that moment. We've talked about TikTok a lot, having a moment of pushing you out more for free. And I think it was Instagram Reels were pushing you out 3 or 4 times more for free.
Correct.
So Instagram are doing this test for NFTs for free. Hopefully it goes well and they'll then expand it. And there might be this window, whereas on Instagram, for free, you can sell NFTs. And Zuckerberg was also involved in this, saying it's going to come out on Facebook in the not too distant future as well. In fact, I think he first leaked it at a conference a couple of months ago before it actually got officially announced by your mate Adam. I think it's Mosseri or something like that. And very similarly, obviously with Instagram, it's creators more broadly. So it's going to be everything from incredibly beautiful Homo sapiens who aren't actually doing anything other than looking beautiful to incredibly talented musicians like you watching this right now. Spotify clearly much more focused on musicians, and very similar. They are testing. There's been this theme of Spotify incorporating more and more of musicians' life into their profile. You know, there was a time where they didn't even tell you about gigs on a Spotify profile. Then you can buy merch through Spotify. They did the link up with Shopify in autumn of 2021. So now the next step of making Spotify that all in place, that you can learn about everything from a musician. And we're going to, in a moment, counter how different that is to the experience on Facebook for a musician and their profile, is that you will be able to sell your NFTs through Spotify. So this thing that, you know, 12 months ago and certainly 24 months ago, a lot of people have never heard of, is now being tested on two, as I said, two of the, certainly five, if not a smaller number, biggest platforms for musicians. It's not in the world, in the English-speaking world, and certainly the United Kingdom. Hello to all our American listeners, all three of you.
Amen.
So that's the Instagram and Spotify news, specifically in the Web3 Discoverse, that directly affects musicians. In the precise, immediate, relatable world, it's fun to talk about the famous people, you know, whether it's your table tennis friend, Steve Aoki, or the band you love so much. I'm pretty sure they've had to take out a number of ASBOs against you, the Chainsmokers, who have launched. They've done something interesting this week, but I'd be contradicting myself if I talked about them because they're not relatable. They're already mega successful, but it's kind of cute. Maybe if you've got time, you decide we can talk about what the Chainsmokers have done because it is interesting. But on the precise, immediate, relatable example, we've tried to talk about artists who are early days, at the start of their career, social media numbers that have 3 digits before they do the project and become successful, certainly low 4 digits. Because it's all very well going, Snoop Dogg did this, or Kings of Leon did this, but that's not relatable for you at the start of your career. What is relatable for you at the start of your career and actionable are precise, immediate, relatable examples of artists also at the start of their career using this Web3 Discoverse NFT technology to make amounts of money that make significant contributions to your dream of making a living from your music. Lyrah is an example of an artist we spoke about a few months ago who was one of those artists in that relatable situation and then made a 4 to 5 figure sum on her NFT. Lyrah has now dropped her second NFT, this time via Sound, which is one of the more high profile of the last couple of months Web3 Discoverse music projects. They kind of mix Just Giving with Patreon, with SoundCloud, with a sprinkling of Web3 on top. Again, if that's interesting, you think, maybe we can talk about them later or in another show. So Lyrah has launched her second NFT release. She's done it via Sound, and in a little over a week, she's raised over $10,000 US. Obviously, the revenue has been generated in a cryptocurrency, in this case ETH, so that amount can vary depending on whether ETH's having a happy day or a day so sad it feels like it should ring T-Pain at Tidal. So yeah, basically Lyrah, Lyrah, if this is your first time watching the No Music podcast, she is worth a Google. She is worth 30 minutes checking out her example because she's relatable, she's lovely, and the reason her being lovely is relevant is she shared quite a lot of her story. So you can learn quite a lot from what she's did. She's put it out there. And I don't know if you remember, she was the one who did the quite cute contract for her first NFT.
The visual one. Yeah.
The graphic designers and musicians love, the music lawyers less so. For some reason, the people being paid hundreds of pounds an hour didn't like the idea of an innovation that might disrupt their ability to charge hundreds of pounds an hour. Lyrah, Lyrah, is our precise, immediate, relatable example of the week in the Web3 Discoverse. What else did we want to talk about? Oh, we wanted to get a bit geeky. We thought we'd deliberately do this last because if it sends you to sleep, you've already learnt about Lyrah. So that's important stuff. I do need some notes for this because I'm not that much of a loser that I can remember all this off by heart. There's a couple of insights lurking in this stuff. One is it kind of makes Spotify look better than you thought and worse than you thought at the same time. It makes clear why, I think a thing I can say you and I have safely been saying for the best part of 5 years, which is Spotify is definitely the least ugly member of the sex that you find sexually attractive in the nightclub at 3 a.m. when you're really drunk. But it also, was that clear? Was Felicity correct? But also gives a real strong indication into why this Web3 world is so game changing. We had a good example of this when we shone a light on the RAC thing on the last NOMP, where he basically went 36 people made more money for me on crypto with my music than 500 bazillion on Spotify. Watch the last NOMP for some more details on that, or check out RAC's Twitter. He's another guy that's very precise and transparent in sharing his journey. So have you ever heard of what they call venture capitalists, Sam?
Yeah.
It's like a record label for businesses, as in they give you a load of money up front to go and do your thing, and they take a percentage, sometimes quite a chunky one. So, and a lot of them are in your beloved California, which is one of the reasons why California is such a hub for creative businesses, because they've got a very supportive system in terms of funding ideas at the start of the place, and that American thing of tolerating failure, Anyway, one of the famous ones, like chain smokers of venture capitalists, the Manchester City stroke Liverpool of venture capitalists is called A16, I think they're called. And they've been big in the Web3 discoverse, and they put out some data. And basically comparing Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and NFTs in terms of how much it creates for creators. So they are looking a bit more broadly, but obviously with Spotify in there, that's an overt focus on musicians. You take some of these numbers with a pinch of salt. So what they did with the NFT stuff is they focused on OpenSea, and they also included secondary sales. And I don't think that's cheating. That's one of the things that's so incredibly exciting about the Web3 world, is this idea that you can get the resale amounts. Remember when we were comparing it to merch. Sell a t-shirt at your gig. If you become better known and that t-shirt gets resold, you don't make anything. Sell an NFT, you get a resale percentage. That's particularly if you're 17, 18 at the start. Was that a question?
No, I was just going to say, just to clarify for any of our listeners, if they don't know what OpenSea is, am I right in thinking OpenSea is basically just the main shopping? It's the Amazon of NFTs.
It's like eBay, right? Shopify, and Amazon had an NFT Web3 baby. Cool. It's changing now, I think, but there was a point last year where it had 153% of the market. It was really, really, really dominant. I think that's been balanced out a little bit. So they estimated in 2021 $3.9 billion was created across 22,400 creators. Are we able to stick stuff up on the screen, Sam? Yeah, okay. I think we should stick this up on the screen.
That graphic you sent over.
Crediting A17, 16, what's it? That equates to $174,000 per creator. $174,000 per creator. Now, there's that old thing of if Bill Gates, your mate from earlier, leaves Reddit and walks into a bar, suddenly the average person becomes a millionaire. So, it will be distorted by, it doesn't mean every single person was making that much money. But with Spotify, 7 billion was given to creators, but across 11 million artists. So that averaged out at $636 per artist. So 174,000 for Web3, 636 for Web2. Boo. But before we give Spotify too much grief, YouTube, now that's a broader creator definition than just musicians, 15 billion distributed. And we generally think of YouTube as giving money to creators. 15 billion distributed across 37 million channels equates to $405 per channel. So Spotify is over 50% bigger than YouTube. And then finally, bringing up the rear, Mrs. Mr. Zuckerberg, showing what we have said for years: don't promote your Facebook, because you're just building them an audience, which they'll then charge you to reach. They basically don't give anything to creators. They've estimated here 300 million. I'm not sure if that's basically just from the pots they do for PR releases, but think about it. You build a community on Facebook, and you're then charged to market to them.
Crazy.
So across 2.91 billion users, that averages out at 10 cents per user. So they've basically created this graphic, this entity that, they know their shit. They are deep in Web 2 and Web 3. The graphic we've been putting on screen, or going to put on screen now, have half seriously, half playfully made the argument that Web 3 makes you $174,000 per musician. Spotify makes you $636 per musician. But don't shit on Spotify too quickly, because YouTube only makes you $405 per artist, and Facebook makes you 10p.
Can't even
and
buy
it's not 10p,
with
it's
that.
10 cents. It's actually about like 7p. Picture paints 1,000 words. That graphic's going to do it much better than me. But that is an insight into how bad old school Web 2 is. If you're still promoting your Facebook at gigs, but please do not. Please do not. Yeah. And why this Web 3 stuff is worth paying attention to, because whether it's now or in 3 or 4 years' time, its potential is absolutely game-changing for you as an aspiring musician. It's going to increase the number of you that are able to get to that minimum 20, 25 grand a year making a living from music. And B, those of you who are already on the path to that, it's going to help you make more. So it's going to be more musicians can make a living from music, and more musicians can make more money from music. And you ain't ever going to get paid by Zuckerberg.
Wow.
Unless he's watching this and Mark's thinking, you know what? Always trust the Mark.
Well.
So better change this.
Wow. Cool. Crazy, but cool.
That should be an album. Hello, Star Mega TLC. That enough.
Crazy, sexy, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's time to talk about, shockingly, our favourite topic, Mark. I think it's time to talk about Nottingham and how no one's going to get any sleep for the next
0115 is alive. Was it Week Flex who first came up with that catchphrase? I can't remember. But yeah, wow. There's this Craig David-esque 5 or 6 days. 73 festivals in 4 days.
So
does it start with Dot to Dot?
Yeah. So Dot to Dot's first. Dot to Dot is this weekend.
And have they got 147 Nottingham artists on the lineup? Are we back to that tradition now?
Exactly. Yeah. So basically every artist that's ever stepped foot in Nottingham on the lineup, solid across hundreds of bit over top, tens of Nottingham venues. Obviously, all the best venues in the city. Classic. I mean, it's just a glorious day, isn't it? It's a day where all the Nottingham's music community comes together, all people that love music come together, all the cool venues come together.
And it's Forest in the playoff final day, I think.
Yeah, it is. No, you're right.
Wow.
So
that could be amazing or rubbish. Will there be no one there? Or that you don't want to be on during that.
Funnily enough, literally in the bodega smoking area, I was literally having this conversation the other day. I was like, I can't tell if that's going to be the best energy Nottingham City Centre.
Oh, Nottingham City Centre, yeah.
Chaotic worst.
Jake Bugg should play just to all the Notts County fans, like the people who don't care.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Dot to Dot across all of the great venues, and the Forest game is on as well, so it's going to be crazy. Also, so that's the Sunday. It's not the bank holiday Monday, the day after, like
the Queen's stolen it,
just because they've been cheeky fuckers. Yeah, the Queen's stolen it for the Thursday. Dot to Dot, no bank holiday. Then that following weekend, Detonate is back at Collett Park for Detonate Festival with everyone from the man of the moment, Brucey.
One of the headliners.
We've got the legendary,
really nice, isn't it?
Correct, main stage. Also on the main stage is Snowy as well, so that's going to be sick.
Awesome.
We've got
Brucey and Snowy both on the main
Spiders
stage.
Playing.
Nice one, Detonate.
And then Spider playing about 700 sets like he always does, and there's a bunch
the world's coolest man,
Nottingham's finest DJs. Exactly. His voice, most distinctive man in probably the UK as well. And then moving on, yeah, what I was just saying a minute ago. Then there's this new festival as well, Meadowlands, which looks from the outside like it only has
Yeah, I
massive
thought there was
indie
no
artists
Nottingham
on and
artists playing it.
artists.
Is that changed?
There wasn't until recently, so they've just done a new announcement as it's gotten
Oh,
closer to
okay.
the time. There is a official BBC introducing stage, East Midlands BBC
Really? Well, I
introducing
didn't know that,
stage.
but I mean, I
Um,
guess you probably should know that. How did you find that out, Sam?
yeah, it's almost as if I've recently started working for them, isn't
Yes.
it, Mark?
Listen, if you don't know, Sam has
So
recently got a job of quite significance at BBC Introducing, doing their socials nationally. So we should say well done.
it's Cat's Milk, and Marty are the Nottingham artists playing the BBC introducing
Okay.
stage. Um, so yeah, they are playing,
What?
and it should be a proper production stage.
Why did you do a Michael Jackson Thriller dance move?
Well, like I was just making the point of like a proper stage versus like
Versus
a lot of festivals when they go, we've got 20 stages, and actually
oh,
it's just
okay.
an amp
Okay,
and a
yeah, I see,
guitar
I
in
see
a
what you
bit
mean.
of a
Yeah,
field
yeah.
somewhere.
Fair.
Yeah, so I think that's the 7 days where we're not going to sleep, and then it's June, and then yeah, man, June's just
And two of those events
mental.
are in June.
Orange. Well, our first weekend doesn't count. Um, so yeah, man, I think that's it. That's Knots representing. So I think we can say goodbye.